I'm Anastasia Chatzka. I'm a fashion designer, pattern maker, and sewing educator, and I'm so happy you're here sewing along with me today. Today, I'm going to show you something magical. We are going to create a hem, and it is going to be invisible on the outside of the garment. It's called a blind hem because you can't see it. A blind hem is most commonly seen on the bottom of dress pants or a really fancy cocktail dress. But you could put a blind hem on a blouse, you could put it on the edge of curtains, you could put it on any pair of pants, any blouse, or any dress. This is such a great technique to make your garment look polished. And today I'm going to be hemming a vintage dress that I have. It already has a blind hem on the bottom, but I want to make it way shorter and I want to replicate the hem that's already there. So we're going to shorten the dress and give it a blind hem. This is going to be an awesome quick transformation, so make sure you stay tuned to the end to check it out. The first thing you want to do is try on your garment, whether it's a dress or a shirt or pants or whatever it is, and put a pin where you want the new length to be. So we need a little indicator of where we're going to be marking our seam allowance. And then once you have that spot, you want to mark down another 1.25 inches because we need that extra seam allowance to fold up into the inside of the garment to create the blind hem. So my original chalk mark with the pin was right here, and I measured down 1.25 inches and then drew a line all the way across my garment. So it's really important to measure down that 1.25 inches because we need that seam allowance to fold up into the garment for our hem. Now that I have it all chalked out, it's time to cut. This is the scary part. So make sure you measure twice because you only get to cut once. I'm going to clip into the dress and then I'm just going to cut one layer at a time and work my way all the way around the dress. Look at that. We chopped off so much fabric. Oh my gosh, we cut off so much of the dress. I've officially made this into a mini dress. So we are done with that piece of fabric. We don't need it anymore. Now we need to concentrate on the dress and hemming it that 1.25 inches with the blind hem. Next, we need to finish the raw edge of the garment. So you could zigzag this, you could overcast it, or you could serge it. And I love the serger, so I'm gonna go ahead and serge the whole entire hem of this dress right now. And we're doing this so that way there's no fraying later on when you're washing and wearing the garment. So let's go finish the edge. And we're done. Now that I have the edge all nice and finished, it's not going to fall apart when we wear it. And our next step is going to be ironing up into the inside of the garment 1.25 inches. And you want to do this all the way around. If you are loving this video so far on how to blind hem something, make sure you subscribe to Sewing Anastasia if you haven't already because I put out sewing videos every single week. And make sure you hit the notification bell so that way you know when they come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching. Now, back to blind hemming that dress. So let's iron it up. So I've turned my dress inside out and I've folded up the edge of my fabric to the inside. Now I want to make sure that this fold on the inside is 1.25 inches because that's what I left for the seam allowance. So now that you know it's 1.25 inches, go ahead and iron it down. And you're going to do this all the way around the bottom of your garment, whether it's a pant leg or a skirt or a blouse or a dress or whatever it is. It could be some curtains as well. And now we're all ironed up and it looks great. Now that we have it all ironed up, grab your pins and we are going to fold the hem a very special way so that way we can create the blind hem. Now what we're going to do is take our 1.25 inch folded hem and we are going to flip it to the right side of the garment. And now what we want to see is the edge of our serge, so you want at least 3/8 of an inch, and then we want the fold of the wrong side of the fabric here to be lined up with that serge. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put a pin in it. Now we're gonna do this all the way around the hem. So we're just taking it and we're folding it under, but we still need this 3/8 here popping out on the side because we need something to sew onto later. So just go ahead and work your way all the way around your garment. Okay, now that you have it all turned under, it should look something like this. So we have that fold here of the inside of the garment, and then we have the serge. It's really important that you have this extra piece of fabric here, whether it's a zigzag or an overcast stitch, because this is actually the piece of fabric we're going to be sewing on next. So now let's head over to the sewing machine and set it up for creating a blind hem. We're gonna have to use a special foot and select a special stitch, and I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks to make sure that this turns out perfect for you, because it can go all wrong in a matter of seconds, but let's not let that happen, so follow along and let's do it. So you're gonna wanna put on your D foot. If you have a Viking machine, it's going to be the blind hem foot. There's gonna be this special little cutout in the back that's gonna allow the fold of the fabric to glide nicely along the foot. But if you don't have a blind hem foot, you can totally try this with your regular sewing machine foot as well. The downside to not using the blind hem foot is that there's no guide for you on the regular sewing machine foot. So the D foot is very helpful, but you can technically do it with just about any foot as long as you're allowed to do a zigzag stitch within that foot. So you want to select the blind hem stitch on your machine that looks something like this. It starts out with a straight stitch, and then it makes a little triangle, or a straight stitch, little triangle. So you want to find this stitch on your sewing machine. Now that we have our D foot on, you want to line up the fold of the fabric with the opening in the foot. So when we create this stitch, it's going to create a straight stitch on top of the serge or your finished edge over here, and it's going to take one little thread of this fold over here. So you want the tip of the needle to hit the very, very edge of this fold. If it's coming too far into the fold, you're going to end up with vertical lines on the outside of your project. So if this is happening, you want to adjust your stitch width. You also want to back stitch or use your fix button when creating the stitch. So I'm going to go nice and slow so you can see the stitch happening. So it's straight stitching on the right, and it's going to come over to the left and just take one little fiber of the fabric. Remove your pins before you get to them, and work your way all the way around your project. So notice that the needle is hitting the very, very edge of that fold, and that's what's going to create the blind hem. So if you have a regular A foot on or just a normal foot for your sewing machine, make sure that the alignment of your machine is set up so that the needle hits the very edge of the fold of the fabric. You get back to where you started, back stitch or fix, and then you can cut. We did it! It was so easy, wasn't it? So let's take a look at it and go over the details to see what we really did. And let's check out and see, is it really blind? So you can see that this orange thread here is the stitch that we just created. It's got those straight stitches, and then it's got the tip of the triangle catching the fold of the fabric. And we've created this going all the way around the hem of this dress. Now let's flip it out so we can actually see the 1¼ inch fold up into the inside. And on this side, I used the pink contrasting thread so you could see it really well. So the inside of the garment is going to look like this with that straight stitch and then that little triangle stitch. Now let's flip it right side out, or let's take a look on the right side, and you'll notice you cannot see any stitches on the hem of this dress. It is completely blind and invisible. So cool, right? Creating a blind hem was so easy, and I hope you enjoyed all the tips and tricks on how to make this happen. Consider it as an option for hemming your next project when you want to add just that extra touch of specialness to it. Here it is, we are hemmed and we have our blind hem, so that way you cannot see any stitches on the outside of the garment. See, I told you it was gonna be like magic. It's here, but you can't see it. If you have any questions about creating a blind hem or how to create a blind hem on your machine at home, leave it down below and I will get back with you as soon as I can. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, give it some applause, and leave a comment down below. I would love to know what you thought of the video and where do you usually use a blind hem stitch. And if you've never done it before, where are you going to be using your blind hem stitch now that you know how to do it? And I hope you found all the tips and tricks helpful in this video. I'd love to know what your favorite one was. If you're not already a subscriber to Sewing Anastasia, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when all the new videos come out. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to add me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and TikTok because I put out so much sewing content all of the time. I love sewing and I love sharing it with you. So let's stay connected and creative together. And speaking of together, I would love to see your projects, so make sure you tag me in your sewing projects or send me pictures so that way I can share them with everyone else. Also, I teach sewing classes in my design studio in Chicago, Illinois. So fly on in, take a class, or maybe you're here local in Chicago. And if you're not, I do teach virtual lessons as well, and you can check those out at sewinganastasia.com. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.